Yo, what's good YouTube? It's boardzy, and this is going to be a full review of the Lamzu Atlantis Mini. Simply put, one of the best small mice on the market. As a lot of you guys know by now, Lamzu came out of nowhere basically and released the Atlantis, which was an XM2 wireless clone, and now they've made the mini version of it, the Atlantis Mini. So everything is pretty self-explanatory in terms of specs. It is the same as the other version, but obviously with gradual improvements. A slightly different switch has a transparent version of the blue shell pink dot Huano switches, slightly updated skate design, updated side button design. You can scroll the scroll wheel from the bottom of the mouse. Find me another mouse where you can do that. This just looks very awkward and mangled, but you can see I am absolutely doing it. But yeah, the big specs on this mouse are 49 gram weight. It's around 50 on my scale. Literally does not matter. $90, and it comes with a 3395 sensor. So no matter how you spin it, this mouse is an incredible value. It feels really excellent in the hand. No quality issues like side flexing, creaking, any semblance of just like a weak build. Everything feels really well put together. This even extends into the clicks. As you can see, there is virtually no side-to-side wobble or grinding. No issues with pre or post travel. The tensioning is just amazing. Just like the quality and feel of this mouse for $90, especially compared to some things that are coming out for a lot more than $90, it just is like actually a gem. And small mice for claw grip, there have been a few additions to the market in like late 2022 with the X2 Mini, Hottie S Plus, and the Ninjutsu Sora. But the Lamzu Atlantis Mini is obviously going to have a different shape. It is a bit smaller, it's a shorter, it's a very compact feeling mouse because it's not going to be especially high profile or like super aggressive in the back, but even with larger hands, it still like fits into my hands perfectly for claw grip. And I can fingertip grip it with no problem. It's nothing I would really recommend over the X2 Mini, just because where I grip it, the button height is a bit higher, and I do prefer flat sides to curved sides for fingertip. But honestly, if you get this mouse at 49 grams with good weight balancing and you just fingertip grip it, like it's not going to be bad, but I would just recommend the X2 Mini. But yeah, getting back to claw grip, if you have small to medium hands and you've ever used the XM1R or the Atlantis and just found them to be like too bulky and too wide in your hands, the Atlantis Mini, I can just say that it's probably going to be a perfect shape for you because it is just a scaled down version of that. I was worried because this mouse is 63 millimeters wide at its widest point. I was scared that the mouse was going to be like too wide at the grip width, but it does get quite thin at the grip width. It's a mouse that I have no problem getting a tight grip of. There's plenty of room for my fingers on the right side, even though it is smaller. This should give you an idea of the profile of the Atlantis Mini compared to some other popular mice. It is going to be a bit larger and wider than the X2 Mini. Feels significantly smaller than the Hottie S Classic, just a totally different shape profile. And the Ninjutsu Sora, which I also said was a sort of XM1 wireless clone, it has a lot less wide of a hump. Like, it definitely has its highest point in the middle, and it's just a wider mouse in general. I would say after using both, the Atlantis Mini is just a much more natural feeling shape. I kind of feel the same way compared to the X2 Mini, and don't get me wrong, I really do enjoy the X2 Mini as a small mouse for claw grip, but just with the wide sides and the thinner hump, it doesn't feel like the proportions and curves just don't feel as natural for claw grip, in my opinion, as the Atlantis Mini. So it's a really good shape. Not that shapes are objectively good or bad, even though that is exactly what I just said. If you do have large hands and you're already satisfied with the standard size Atlantis, really no reason to get the Mini. But if you do want something smaller, you just enjoy small, nimble mice, this is a great option at the 50 gram range. And I really don't remember the last mouse I was this adamant about. I feel like it is just a really good, smaller XM1, like actually XM1 Mini inspired shape, because we've had a lot of like sort of XM1 Mini shapes, but this is the first one that I think really does the job right. But yeah, now getting to some of the other features like the side buttons, they also did update them on the new batch of the Lamzu. I mean, not really to the same extent. Like, there is no post travel or mushiness on the Mini. On my copy at least, with the side buttons, whereas before there was, and it just gave them not the snappiest feeling, and it's something that they improved on, and it's very noticeable in this batch. One thing I was getting asked about was the placement, because this is a shorter mouse, and you see the back side button is kind of towards the back, but since the side buttons are so large, if you are hitting it with like your inner thumb joint, there's going to be really no problem accessing the side buttons. But if you are a freak who like brings your thumb back, you might have some issues with the Atlantis Mini. And yeah, for like a fingertip or palm grip, I think the positioning is very solid as well. They did update the scroll wheel encode coder to make it a bit like tighter of a scrolling feeling. But one thing I also noticed is that the middle mouse click is significantly heavier than it was on the original Atlantis. I'll do like some spamming. Actually, no. Holding in spamming is just kind of fucked, but you can take my word for it. Like, it is a bit harder to spam the scroll wheel this time around, but the actual scrolling feeling is maybe slightly improved, so there is that. The clicks, as I mentioned before, using the transparent Huano blue shell pink dots, not really any quality issues in terms of grinding. They feel very consistent all around. Obviously, if you do click towards the middle of the mouse, they will feel a bit heavier, but if you are clicking it towards the top, very light and spammable. Really a solid mechanical switch in my opinion. I've been pretty Huano pilled since Kale's quality has kind of gone to shit. And yeah, all of the buttons on this mouse, minus potentially the middle mouse button if you're somebody who really uses that, are absolutely spot on. The 3395 sensor, I can't notice any difference in the actual sensor implementation. They do have this new dongle, which looks kind of sick. I don't know, just the design, but I'm pretty sure it's the same interiors as the last one as well. So really nothing to report with the sensor experience. Everything has been solid. Polling rate is limited to 1000, which I really don't think is an issue. As long as there's not polling rate inconsistency, there's like a very stable and clean tracking feeling. Like a 3395 with 1k hertz is perfectly fine, but just judging by how like on top of their shit Lamzu generally is, I feel like they'll have a 4k offering at some point early on this year. But yeah, for now, nothing really to know in terms of LOD, like DPI deviation, fucking classic. So yeah, the sensor implementation is going to feel pretty on par with other 3395 mice with Comp X MCUs. So nothing that's going to like break the fucking barrier. It's just a very good wireless experience for $90. Really no reason to complain. And yeah, one of the last things to cover on this mouse is going to be the skates, which they did do an update to, because on the original Atlantis, the skates essentially just didn't go out far enough and it can cause like wobbling issues. You'll notice them more depending on the grip you use, but yeah, absolutely was an issue and they decided to fix that. By default, they have these 4 corner skates installed, but also in the box, they do include a set of like Zowie style hybrid skates. You actually get some dot skates as well and grip tape. I'm not a huge fan of the grip tape just because it is pretty thick. But I mean, I guess if you want more size on the mouse, you can use that. So yeah, pretty good extras as well. The one thing that I feel like this mouse could improve on is the coating, just because the standard white coating they're using is somewhat slippery and plasticky. It's just not a super rubberized, nice matte coating. But meanwhile, they do have one of the best coatings in the mouse game, like unironically, on their Black Atlantis. It is like a somewhat chalky, but still like grippy and rubbery feeling coating. No issues with sweat. It's not slippery at all. Like, I'm not sure if you can see the difference in just how much like more grip there is on my fingers. But yeah, it seems like they can only do that coating in black. So I'd like to see them have some way to just put coatings on all of their colorways, because it just does make the mouse feel that much more premium. But yeah, even as it stands now, there's just little I would change about this mouse out of the box. And I was very high on the original Atlantis. I feel like the mini version is even better, potentially appeals to even more people. Definitely, as you can tell by the tone of this review, is going to be receiving the seal of approval. I have only been using it for over a week, and since I think I'm going to keep it on my desk, I will do a longer term update at some point. But yeah, for now, I have very little to complain about. If you are looking for a small mouse, whether it be for claw grip or fingertip, I think that this should be at the top of your considerations. Any other questions, leave them in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, want to see more mouse reviews, do be sure to leave a subscription. And yeah, that's going to be all. Lamzu Atlantis Mini, beautiful sunny Shenzhen, China. So awesome. Peace.